Sometimes news just breaks that really makes you pause. And the recent announcement about former President Joe Biden's health, well, it definitely feels like one of those
It
moments.
really does, yeah. A reminder, isn't it, that these public figures, they have their own personal health challenges just like anyone else. So in this deep dive, we want to get past the sort of headline level, really understand the specifics of this diagnosis.
Exactly. We're working from a recent news report here, and the goal really is to pull out the key facts, figure out what the medical terms actually mean, and just, grasp the bigger picture without all the confusing jargon.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's jump in. The announcement itself, that was May 18th, 2025, right? From his personal office.
Correct, May 18th. And the main point was the diagnosis, an aggressive form of prostate cancer. And the report mentioned it has, unfortunately, spread.
Metastasized.
Yes, metastasized to his bones.
And it sounds like this wasn't totally out of the blue either. The article mentioned increasing urinary symptoms leading up to it.
Mm-hmm. That led to finding a prostate nodule first.
Right. And that initial finding that was disclosed just a few days earlier, May 13th. So things seem to have moved pretty quickly from finding the nodule to this diagnosis.
That seems right. The timeline does suggest maybe a pretty swift medical evaluation once that nodule was found. And the announcement itself had some pretty significant medical details packed in.
It did. Okay, so Gleason score of 9, also called grade group 5, and crucially, the metastasis to the bone. Now, for those of us listening who aren't doctors, what does that Gleason score, a 9, what does that actually tell us?
Well, think of the Gleason score as a way doctors grade how the cancer cells look under a microscope. Basically, how different they look from normal prostate cells. A low score means they look more normal. A high score, like 9, means they look very abnormal, very disorganized.
So more aggressive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It signals a high likelihood of the cancer growing and spreading quickly. So yes, grade group 5, Gleason 9, that points to a highly aggressive cancer.
Okay. And the bone metastasis part. That sounds quite serious. What are the implications when prostate cancer spreads to the bones?
Yeah, metastasis means the cancer cells have traveled from the prostate itself and set up shop elsewhere, in this case, the bones. This can unfortunately lead to things like bone pain, increased risk of fractures, other complications. It definitely makes the situation more complex to manage overall.
But there was a potentially positive note in the report, wasn't there? It said the cancer seems to be hormone sensitive. What does that mean for treatment?
Ah, yes. That's actually a really important detail. Yeah. Hormone sensitivity. See, prostate cancer often uses male hormones, like testosterone, as fuel to grow.
Okay.
So if the cancer is hormone sensitive, it means treatments that lower testosterone levels or block the hormones from working. They can be very effective.
Right, like cutting off the fuel supply you mentioned.
Precisely. It can slow the cancer's growth, help manage symptoms. It's a key factor in planning treatment, even when it's spread.
And the article did say that he and his family are looking at treatment options now with his doctors, and hormone treatment was specifically mentioned as one possibility, according to a source.
Exactly. Hormone therapy or androgen deprivation therapy, ADT, it's often a standard first step for hormone-sensitive metastatic prostate cancer. It can involve injections or pills. So that detail about sensitivity is, well, it's quite significant for the treatment path forward.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Look at the broader context. This news comes almost 4 months after he left office, back in January 2025. And the article reminds us, during his presidency, there was definitely public discussion about his age, his health, even though, he was officially declared fit for duty back in February 25.
Right. And it's always hard to connect dots directly, isn't it? We can't say this diagnosis is why he didn't run again. That decision was made much earlier. But it does highlight, well, the ongoing health realities that leaders face even after rigorous fitness declarations while in office.
Yeah. And that decision not to run, that came way back in July 2024, which, as the article notes, led to Vice President Harris becoming the candidate. And she ultimately lost to Donald Trump in November, who then started his second term.
Yes, that's the political timeline leading up to this. Separate threads, really, but they form the backdrop.
And, it was interesting to see the note about President Trump and Melania Trump sending well wishes via Truth Social, the article said.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those moments, isn't it, where political rivalries seem to pause, just for a moment, faced with a personal health issue. Shows a certain shared humanity, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. Now, since leaving office, the report says Biden's mostly kept a low profile,
Largely out of the spotlight, yes.
but not entirely invisible. There were a couple of fairly recent interviews mentioned. He was on The View in early May with Jill Biden.
That's right. Those appearances give us little snapshots, of what he's been up to post-presidency.
And on The View, he tackled those reports about cognitive decline head on, said something like, "They are wrong, there's nothing to sustain that."
Mm-hmm.
He addressed it directly.
And he repeated his reason for not running again, wanting to avoid dividing the Democratic Party.
Which offers his perspective on the political calculations he made back then. He also did a BBC interview, apparently, and mentioned he didn't think handing things off to Harris earlier would have changed the election outcome. Pretty blunt assessment.
It is just his take on how things played out, looking back.
And before those interviews, back in April, he was at a conference for the disabled and also attended Pope Francis's funeral in Italy with Dr. Biden.
So, yes, staying involved with certain events, certain causes that clearly matter to him, even if generally keeping a lower public profile.
The article also briefly touches on his family history, which I think is important context for understanding the person. It mentions the awful loss of his first wife and baby daughter way back.
Absolutely. Foundational events in his life story, profoundly shaping, no doubt.
And it notes his marriage to Jill Biden, who's been such a constant presence.
A very visible partnership throughout his public life, yes.
And then the more recent tragedy, losing his son, Beau Biden, to brain cancer, glioblastoma, in 2015.
A devastating loss.
And the article recalled Beau's wish for his father. Something like, "Don't give up on the robustness of life." That really lands differently now, hearing this news.
It does. It's quite powerful. That idea of living fully despite challenges.
And it gives a nod to his other children, Hunter and Ashley, and his grandchildren too, just acknowledging that family network.
Right, grounding this story in his personal life, which is fitting given the nature of the news.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. We've looked at this May 18th announcement. Former President Biden diagnosed with an aggressive prostate cancer, Gleason 9, that spread to the bone.
Right, metastasis confirmed.
But also, crucially, that it appears hormone sensitive, which opens doors for potentially effective management.
Potentially, yes. That's a key piece of the medical information shared. Offers a specific therapeutic avenue.
We've placed this news in the context of him leaving office, the earlier decision not to run, and we noted the well wishes he received.
Exactly. We've tried to unpack the details from the report, clarify the medical side, and sort of position this news within his recent activities and personal history.
And it's serious news, absolutely. But that detail about hormone sensitivity and potential management, it does offer, well, maybe a degree of cautious optimism within a difficult situation.
It's definitely important to balance the seriousness of aggressive and metastasis with the potential effectiveness of treatments like hormone therapy for hormone-sensitive cancers. Modern oncology has options.
You know, this whole situation, looking into it, it really underscores the human side of public figures, doesn't it? The challenges they face personally, even after they leave the political arena. Makes you wonder, how does learning about these kinds of personal health struggles maybe change how we view past leaders or the decisions they made? Something to think about.